Hello, this is Elliot Jager. Mansour Abbas, a member of the Knesset and leader of the Ram Party, a Hebrew University graduate, dentist by profession, uh, wants to be a partner with the Zionist enterprise. He says Palestinian Arab citizens of Israel, 20% of the population uh, within the Green Line, deserve to have political influence within Israel's political system. Now, Arab parties have conventionally been relegated to the political sidelines. Back in the 1950s, Mapai, the Labor Party, fielded a satellite Arab party uh, that was part of the government, and the purpose was to secure Arab votes for the Labor Party. But nowadays, Arab parties have even less sway than they did when in the 1950s, because they haven't taken part in the government. And and one of the implications of that is that there's been massive cuts in the budget for the Arab sector. That is, the Arab sector. I'm talking about citizens of Israel within the state of Israel. Not to mention the profound problems that are going on within the Arab authorities, within predominantly Arab cities in Israel. Nazareth being one example, where there's corruption, where there is absolute, the streets are dirty, basic services are just not on par with what they are in neighboring Jewish cities. uh, Most people know that the crime rate in the Arab sector has gone uh, off the charts under the current government. People realize, you're aware, that uh, protection, organized crime within the Arab sector now is just out of control, and under homicide crime, by all indicators, things are just terrible. And the Arabs are not influencing government policy because, frankly, they're not part of the government. And, for a while, things looked like they were a bit improving for the Arab sector. In June 2021, Naftali Bennett was prime minister in that government, so called government of change with Yair Lapid, and he brought in Mansour Abbas into the government with his Ram party. And by the way, Likud, Benjamin Netanyahu, had tried to sway Abbas to come in because there had been a whole bunch of elections, a whole series of elections. Netanyahu kept losing power, and he just decided that maybe if he had the Arab support, that would just bring him over the top. Abbas wouldn't cut a deal with Netanyahu, didn't trust him, wonder why, and ultimately went with Lapid and with Bennett. And of course, Netanyahu then turned around and said, "Oh my God, Lapid and Bennett have just cut a deal with Mansour Abbas. The sky is falling." Anyway, but where are we today? Where we are today, in thinking about the 2026 elections, is that Mansour Abbas has been excommunicated, not just by Netanyahu and his crowd, but also by the opposition. That includes Yisrael Beiteinu's Avigdor Lieberman. All of them are saying that in the interest of holding the anti-Netanyahu coalition together, they're all saying we have to keep out any non-Zionist party. I think the only exception to this excommunication is Yair Golan and the Democrats Party. Look, it gets even worse from my perspective, because the Netanyahu coalition of Kahanis and Chardalnikim are on spurious grounds. They seem to be working to keep Ram from participating in the political process altogether on the grounds that it's tied to the Muslim Brotherhood. It's not in any substantive and practical sense of the term. Let me tell you a little bit about Mansour Abbas. He's 51 years old. He grew up in a town that was Christian and Druze. He comes off as a respectful, warm, winning, really self deprecating figure. And he's an Islamist. He's an Islamist in the traditional sense of the term. He wants Arab men and women to lead a Sharia lifestyle. Now, if that sounds outrageous to you, what if I told you that Orthodox parties want Jews to lead a halachic lifestyle? So he leans, Abbas does, in a religious fundamentalist direction. He wants to see Islamic law in political society, just like Orthodox Jews and Orthodox Jewish parties want to see halakha, their interpretation of halakha, of course, in the political society affecting the Jewish community. So he has a lot in common with the Orthodox parties, and much less with people like me. But Abbas is associated with the Islamic branch of the North. In 1996, Israel's Islamic movement split into two parts. There was a part that was willing to do business with the Zionists, and another part that refused to do business with the Zionists. He's part of the part that wants to do business with the Zionists. Eventually, by the way, in 2015, the northern branch, the radical branch that won't have anything to do with the Zionist movement, won't cooperate, won't participate. They were ultimately outlawed. Now, don't confuse Mahmoud Abbas with Mansour Abbas. Okay, Mahmoud Abbas, PLO, Ramallah, Mansour Abbas, Israeli Arab, Palestinian Israeli Arab, Lower Galilee, recognizes Israel as a Jewish state, something Mahmoud Abbas would never have done. Anyway, from my point of view, we, Zionists, should be grateful that Mansour Abbas is willing to partner with us to seek enfranchisement within the Israeli political system. It's not something that we can't expect him. We can't expect him to be a Zionist. It's not something we expect from the United Torah Judaism Party. It's not something that we expect from the Shas Party, and we shouldn't expect it from the Ram Party. They're not going to be Zionists. And yes, he's against Israeli settlements. He's against the occupation, as he calls it, and a lot of Israelis are too. So that doesn't disqualify him from participating in an Israeli government. And as far as the two, he's for a two-state solution. But as far as he's concerned, these are the Arab-Israel conflict in its larger sense is intractable, and he wants to work day to day to make on things that we can agree about, to make the situation of the citizens in the Arab sector better. And he wants to work within the Israeli political system to do that. I have to tell you that in the early 1990s, when Oslo was thrust upon us, I kept challenging my friends on the left by saying, "Where are your peace now Arabs? Where are the peace now Arabs? We have our peace now Jews. But where are the peace now Arabs?" And I think that in Mansour Abbas, we have essentially a peace now Arab, somebody who's willing to maybe be a little unrealistic about what to expect from the Jews, but participate in the system in order to simply get things done on a constituent basis for the Arab sector that he represents. Incidentally, Abbas, being an Orthodox Muslim, tapped into a connection that he had with the late Rabbi Menachem Froman of Tekoa, where both of them sort of argued, politically, the secularists are not solving the conflict. Maybe we can find some sort of modus vivendi between us Orthodox people, that is, from Muslims and from Zionists. And it's not so outrageous. Now, I think we need to play with the cards we are dealt. And there's never been any kind of reformation in Islam. Islam is what it is. It's not going to, there are no reform mosques. Men and women in mosques don't pray together. There aren't going to be any gay marriages in a mosque. There aren't going to be any gay marriages in the 57 Muslim countries that are members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation in the United Nations. So that's just the way it is. We're not going to turn Mansour Abbas into something that he's not. But for all those reasons, I think that that he's willing to work with us, that he is a card-carrying Islamist, in the sense that he wants to promote Islam, at least in his community. I'd rather deal with somebody like that than somebody who comes up with these vacuous, why can't we all get along? I mean, his broad-mindedness is based on concrete reality. And he cites his reasoning. He sources it in the Quran. So let me just wrap up by pointing out that when Israel was first created and before the creation of the state, the Zionist movement did reach out to people like Mansour Abbas, to people who were not Zionists, but they were willing to cut a deal with the Zionist movement. And all of those people were killed or chased away by Arab Muslim fanatics. And so if you were looking for an Arab moderate, you had to look in the cemetery. Now, Mansour Abbas is an Arab moderate as we're going to get in the real world. All right? So, and for him, it's a risky move, but he's doing it. Now, the Netanyahu government is doing everything, as I said, to try to keep him from even participating in the political system, and the opposition won't even let him take part in the opposition, and at least promise him that if they win, they'll bring him into the government. On the contrary, they're telling him that he'll be excommunicated. This is a terrible thing, I think. Israel was expressly founded on the idea of full and equal citizenship for the Arab sector and its institutions. And one of the institutions is the religious aspect of Arab Muslim life in Palestine, in Eretz Yisrael. So it is not only the right thing to do, it's in the Zionist interest to demonstrate that the Arabs can exercise political influence by playing within the rules of the game. And rather than blacklisting Mansour Abbas, his Ram party, I would give him a seat in the cabinet.